Welcome to the Knowledge Gumbo Podcast. I'm Alicia Thomas. This is a space where we share the stories and wisdom of Black women who shaped the world we're still working to build. Each week consists of sharing one quote, a little context, and an honest reflection, followed by a question that you can carry with you. Let's begin with today's quote. Being seen is not the same as being heard, and being heard is not the same as having power. Melissa Harris Perry. Melissa Harris Perry is a political scientist, an author, and a media host who became one of the most visible Black women intellectuals in the American public life. She hosted her own weekend show on MSNBC for 3 years, built a following as a public thinker, and then walked off set in 2016 when the network began preempting her show for wall-to-wall political coverage without consulting her. In a letter explaining her exit, and in the work that she's done since, has shown the difference between visibility and power in media institutions. I have been contemplating the progression of being seen and then heard and then having power. I think a lot of us, especially those who create content, have been sold the idea that visibility is the goal. Melissa is drawing a careful line here in her quote of being seen is not the same as being heard. You can be a face on a screen, no matter how big or little that screen is. And you can be that face while someone else controls the editorial direction of what's on that screen. You can be a name in a byline, whether written or video, and someone else decides what stories get told. Being seen without a voice is just decoration. A second distinction in the sharper one of that particular quote, being heard is not the same as having power. You can be in the room. You can speak. People can acknowledge, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, that you spoke. But none of your words shift or change the outcome. The decision gets made without you or in spite of you. The policy stays, the story doesn't run, the show gets preempted. Because hearing is not the same as having authority over what happens next, over what stories get told. Power in this context means ownership. It means control. The ability to say yes and have that yes stick. The right to say no and not have it ignored. What the current digital era is doing is shifting the barrier to enable that kind of power. Because now you don't need a network to give you a show. You can build the show. You don't need a publisher to validate your ideas. You can distribute them yourselves. But there's a danger in that. There's a danger when you confuse the audience with infrastructure. Because having followers is not the same as owning a platform. Having reach is not the same as having control. The lesson that Harris Perry lived in public is that borrowed platforms can be taken away. They can be withdrawn. what Melissa did after she left MSNBC matters as much as why she left. She launched her own media company. She didn't wait to be given back a seat. She brought her seat and built a table for that seat. That move is a part of a larger, or should I say longer, tradition. And she shifted on another front as well by moving into academia and sharing the wisdom of what she gained. She shined a light on what happens when your platform is not yours. And in teaching, she also shows, like I said previously, that longer tradition. Because when we look at someone we spoke about a couple weeks ago, Ida B. Wells, she owned her own press. We look at Oprah Winfrey, who owned her show, had a owner-friendly distribution deal for the Oprah Winfrey Show. But then she left that and built OWN because she needed greater control of her own, no pun intended, platform. Issa Rae funded her own work before HBO came calling, wanting a piece of what she built. The pattern is consistent. The women who have the most durable influence are the ones who eventually stopped borrowing someone else's infrastructure, someone else's platform. Digital media has made that more possible. And it also made it more complicated because social media gives the illusion of ownership. But we don't own follower list. We don't own the algorithms. And most creators don't take the time or make the time to create a mailing list, and they don't have direct access in order to engage their audience because everything is on someone else's platform that can change its terms of service or can close its doors and take your audience completely away. The real digital power move is building something that outlasts the platforms you use to distribute it. A newsletter, of which we have the Knowledge Gumbo newsletter. Please sign up. The link will be below. A podcast like this one, their RSS feed. Building a community that's off-platform that follows you across all the platforms that you utilize. And not just being on one. Carry this question with you. Where in your life are you performing visibility without having actual power? And what would it look like to start building something that you actually own? That brings us to the end of today's serving of the Knowledge Gumbo Podcast. Thank you for sharing one of your greatest gifts, and that is the gift of time. If this quote, stirred a little something for you, like great gumbo, let it simmer and then choose to share it. Hopefully with someone you love, and particularly, hopefully, another Black woman. Until next time, take great care of your mind, of your body, and your soul.